Rolling.
Throughout my life, I have been rejected many times, and much worse than what the average person has ever got to experience, because people with Asperger's face an extreme amount of rejection. With that in mind, this is going to be a very interesting and intense subject. I have been having to deal with this shit ever since I was in grade school, back in the days before I had pubic hair. People with Asperger's have a difficult time at making friends and finding someone to date, and by the time I got into high school, most of the kids were a bunch of stuck-up, cliquey, snotty, weak-minded, conformist pieces of fucking filth, and I was so fucking horny as I was desperately hoping that one of those stuck-up, popular, phony assholes would have at least been nice enough to let me stick my dick up their ass, and with any luck I would have gotten a piece of fecal matter on my dick. I noticed that popular people act like their shit don't stink, and I want them to prove it. Also, these conformist pieces of fucking filth would go up to both the boys and the girls, and this is referring to me, and say shit like, "She likes you, he likes you," and then they would laugh and giggle and say, "No, I don't." That's an example of what our schools are like. A bunch of well, I don't know if I can even say this word on YouTube anymore, unfuckingfortunately. A bunch of mentally R-word people, conformist pieces of fucking filth who think that it's cool to play a bunch of stupid games with someone who is unpopular, although the unpopular kids have a lot more intelligence and creativity. I won't forget the time when me and my parents went over to a neighbor's house for a barbecue. Well, you keep hearing this one over and over again, but it's in multiple spoken words. But I went to a neighbor's house for a barbecue, and my father had something very stupid to say, which was the best way to replace a pet once it dies is to get a picture of a horse. And I mentioned that I would rather have a picture of a whore. My father was very offended after he heard me say that, because my father was a snowflake. I remember this lady was so nice to me when I was a kid. She knew that I was very timid and weird, but she probably thought that I would grow out of it once I got older and having pubic hair, because something about getting pubic hair is when people expect you to turn normal. But she was so nice to me when I was a kid, and she would invite me in to have juice and cookies. I don't know if this happened before or after mentioning the picture of a whore, but when I got older, she would just see me and she wouldn't even bother to say hi to me. Well, I hope that she has croaked since then, and I hope that she is burning in hell. That fucking piece of shit fucking cunt. I hate it so much when people have to cop an attitude with me like that. One of my weird eccentric habits that I had is I would run around the north side of the house with a stick to see the shadow of the sun. And my father was so worried about what her husband would think. People who worry about what neighbors will think have very weak minds. Nothing like the infinite wisdom of stupidity, as when I was already paranoid that people were out to get me, because my parents thought that once I realized that people were out to get me, I would then turn into a conformist, but that did not work. People continued to reject me after I became an adult, and even though my spoken words is very unique and creative, I have experienced lots of rejection in the so-called poetry community as well. I remember this coffee shop in which I did my spoken words, and I can't even mention the name of it because I forgot the name of it. But I would go in there for their open mics, and the first one, I was lucky enough to meet a lot of cool people who really enjoy hearing my stuff. But as time went on, there were fewer and fewer cool people. There was just this touchy-feely poetry type shit. You know what I'm talking about. And it was all a bunch of pretentious fucking bullshit, and it's all talking about people and their fucking cunt droppings and how they can't afford to take care of them, and that shit. The woman who owned this coffee shop seemed nice at the beginning, but she turned out to be a fucking cunt who wanted me to tone down what I was talking about. I remember one day she tells me that this is a place of peace, quote unquote. What the fuck does that have to do with me? Just because I happen to say what's on my mind makes me against peace? What it really means that, yeah, I think she was using touchy-feely sensitivity shit to manipulate me to giving up my freedom of speech. The guy who used to co-host this open mic claimed that he liked a lot of what I had to say, but then he would ask me, "Is this going to be gentle on the ears?" So in other words, he appeared to be cool, but then he was triggered by the microaggression of telling me, telling it like it is. So this little snowflake needed a safe space to run to. Well, I got news for you. I am the real victim, and I am the one who has been victimized, and I need a safe space to run to, but people like me don't have safe spaces to run to. Only chicken shit conformist drama queens are entitled to have their safe spaces. I tend to notice that these uptight PC fucks who expect me to give up my freedom of speech to be sensitive to their needs are the same people who could care less about being sensitive to my needs. These people are so fucking arrogant, and they think that sensitivity is a one-way street. The nerve of those fucking hypocrites. Fuck them. Furthermore, I'm not going to give up my freedom of speech because it's not very fair to the cool people who actually enjoy hearing my material, because those people are not my real friends. The people who do enjoy it are my real friends. Also, I've had bad luck at poetry slams with judges who give me very low scores because I'm interesting and creative. I tend to notice that most poetry sucks. It's nothing more than a bunch of pretentious dribble. Most of these people are nothing more than a bunch of cliquey, stuck-up, pretentious chicken shit conformists, but so many of them talk about how much they love people and care about people, but they are very selective about who they love. I would suggest that they start practicing what they preach. Another thing is the rejection that these phony, pretentious hipster fucking scum goes much deeper than being vulgar. I once did a thing about Asperger's, and only a couple of people were cool enough to like it, including this one person who was going to school to be a teacher, and she told me that the vulgarity in my spoken words wasn't much worse than what other people were talking about, and she knows a lot about Asperger's because she studied it in school, but the other people don't get it. Well, that's a reason why I'm supposed to give up my freedom of speech, is because they don't get it and they're better and they're my superior. Mm-hmm. Well, those who don't get it but expect me to give up my freedom of speech to please them can go take a flying fuck. These people ain't better than the conformist pieces of fucking filth who I went to school with. I won't forget my 16th birthday, which was also the second day of a new school year of shit. And I won't forget Jimmy, who I thought was my friend, but he was smiling and being so nice to all the other popular conformist pieces of fucking filth, but he didn't even bother to say hi to me, which caused my 16th birthday to be the deepest, darkest, and worst day of my life. Furthermore, I'm willing to bet that Jimmy spent the entire summer having sex and going to sex orgies. I never got invited to a sex orgy. With that in mind, I hope that someone ends up fucking these stuck-up popular teenagers in the ass without a condom and give them AIDS. I want these popular conformist assholes to suffer. This is why I enjoy watching the Friday the 13th movies, because there were multiple times when Jason would sneak up on a couple of stuck-up teenagers and chop them up with an axe right in the middle, right while they were in the middle of fucking. And that is fucking beautiful. I also want to focus on people who have accepted me, because I don't want to be all about total negativity like my friend June, who likes to steal toilet paper. I feel accepted by my cat because cats are better than people, but even maggots are better than people. Sure, maggots like to hang out in garbage and shit, but I never once had to deal with a maggot copying an attitude with me. I won't forget the time when I was in high school when this jock conformist piece of fucking filth kept calling me a faggot. Oh, I'm supposed to say that word on YouTube, but I'm not saying it in a derogatory way, so I have to put that disclaimer in there. He's the one that said it, I didn't say it. And told me that I'm a disgrace to the school. And this other kid told him that he would bash his head fucking brains in if he didn't stop this shit, which was certainly a very cool thing. He was one of the burnouts who did that though. I am certainly grateful to those who enjoy hearing my spoken words because those people are my real friends. My parents seemed to enjoy it when people would reject me, but it was because I deserved to be rejected, and besides, this has caused me to turn out to be a better person, and it shows.
Oh, okay. Very good.
What's the time?
11.
The first thing I want to bring up is the reason why you probably haven't figured out why it's related to the one about T-shirts.
Oh, gee. No, I haven't figured that out.
Okay, this is one of the few things I read at the Asperger's group.
Mm-hmm.
And the person hosting it did previous. You need to do it without the swear words in it, but this woman who, one of the co-hosts or one of the facilitators of the group said I could read it with the swear words in it. But then as soon as but the other guy, I don't know if I should mention his name. I probably shouldn't. But he as soon as I mentioned sticking my dick in someone's dick, as soon as I started to mention sticking my dick up someone's ass, he told me that I was going too far. And then this woman the same fucking cunt who, she was nice enough to invite me to the 4th of July party, so I read my spoken words. Then she laid the guilt trip on me about how I offended people. And then she said I could go to the following 4th of July party, but I couldn't do any spoken words, so I agreed to that. And then after that, she totally stopped letting me go to any 4th of July parties. And I did that spoken words after the last 4th of July party that she invited me to. So it may have had something to that effect.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend told me that she doesn't have 4th of July parties anymore because it causes her too much anxiety to prepare for them. But I get a feeling what he told me was a bunch of fucking bullshit.
I was thinking that.
Because I overheard him say something about a 4th of July party that I wasn't invited to.
Yeah.
And then he also laid the fucking guilt, at the end he laid the guilt trip on me about how I offended someone very badly or something, and I asked who it was, and he told me he wouldn't tell me who it was. And I had to keep my mouth shut. I really had to keep my mouth shut. But even then I said, I don't give a fuck if I offended anyone.
Good.
And there was another spoken words I wanted to relate to do, but the fucking pandemic fucked it up, so I haven't done it yet. And that spoken words is a bigger fear and something that's even worse than rejection. How much time do we have?
It's 13:30.
Something worse than rejection. Can you think of what it is?
Something worse than rejection? Being homeless?
That's pretty bad, but I wasn't thinking of that.
Losing your freedoms?
You're kind of along the line. It's kind of along the line of that. Getting involved with some fucking cult where people are controlling me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't just mean Scientology and...
No, I know what you mean. Well, I think you're strong-minded enough to avoid that.
Plus they say your cult accepts you, which is a load of fucking
bullshit. Of course it's a load of fucking bullshit.
As soon as you say or do something that goes against the control freaks in the cult, you're either ostracized and thrown out of the cult, or like some cults like Scientology, they fuck you over if you try to leave, and there's other cults like that as well.
That's pretty damn scary. Alright, it's 14:35.
I guess we have to stop. This was a good thought-provoking one, better than I thought it was going to turn out to be.
Yeah.